a Thursday night McFiles late night edition. Grateful to see everybody back with us, and we are grateful. This young lady was still up. We got so much breaking news just since we had Jordan Brace with us early on tonight, and she did a great job. That young lady, just out of high school. But we got Leslie Milwee on the phone with us, and buddy, it's good to see you tonight. Thank you for staying up with us. Always a pleasure. And but what what we want to announce tonight, folks, is that the SAVE Act was brought before the Senate. It went up in smoke, 50-48. 4 Republicans, McConnell, Tillis, Murkowski, and Collins voted against it. It was put as part of a reconciliation bill. And I don't know if that's why they voted against it or they just hate Trump. It could be a little bit of both. But hopefully they'll try to bring it to the floor again. We'll see. Leslie, that act, what's going on in California tonight with the cheating is one of the reasons why this Save America Act bill is so important, so vital, because if you don't have integrity with your elections, it's you're not gonna have a country. You got to have fair elections. You just got to have fair elections, or people lose faith in the system and people stop voting, and then we crumble. We crumble as a republic.
Yeah, and California is so screamingly the poster child for this. I mean, we're living it right now. Steve Hilton, I'm not so worried about as far as him finishing first is so huge because it will be harder to lie about that. But I really am worried about Spencer Pratt, even though he was, 10 points ahead of Rahman. Now they're saying, well, we got 30. Well, you just sent me that, 34,000 votes, and there were none in there?
No, 24,000. Over in the last 24 hours, they had 24,000 votes. 10,000 more went to Bass. 12,000 went to Noodle. Not one vote. Not one, Leslie. Not one mail-in ballot for Spencer Pratt. What's the as Jason Miller says all the time to me, what's the odds of that, Mac? What's the odds of that, Milwee?
No,
that's impossible. That's impossible.
Yeah, 1 in a billion. So, and we have to look and see, it's so ambiguous too. Where did these come from? Are these from polling stations? Are these from somewhere? I want these identified. We have to have, this gets back to the SAVE Act, chain of custody. No other states operate this way. I think there's going to be some fraud that's going to come up from Arizona coming up here. I heard Carrie Lake talk a little bit about it, and I'm not a huge fan of hers, but we're on the same page with 90% of the things. I think that the Georgia thing is exposed, like Ron DeSantis said tonight. I can count 10 million votes in 10 minutes, and you can't do the same. That just makes no sense. If they allow this to be continue to be the norm, we have to fight back on this. This is one of those things you either fight for the SAVE Act, or you do something about the voting in California. And I don't know if Steve Hilton will have I think he did incredibly well. I think he did a whole lot better than anyone thought he would. But when you put together the Steyer vote and the Becerra vote, you may have a problem there.
Well,
winning.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, his chances of winning the general are going to have to, he's going to have to draw some more votes, either the independents or people that are, because out of that Steyer crowd, that's the far left. That's the far left.
Right.
The Becerra people are Obama people, maybe more moderate Dems, if there is such a thing. I don't even think there is such a thing anymore like that. So I'm with you. But Leslie, I just believe this, and you help me out here. A lot of this, and I'm not scolding people tonight. I want people to understand this. I'm not scolding people. But Christians need to be ashamed of themselves for the way we vote and when we don't vote on election night. This radical
Agreed.
Dem that got elected in New Jersey Tuesday night. I mean, you're talking about lunatic insane. He was basically on the defense. He was basically giving testimony for defense for the blind sheik
I
that
know.
was part
I
of
know.
the World Trade Center bombing in 1993. How does a person like that get on a ticket? I don't care what party it is. The Dems have. I don't know how this party has gotten so taken over by this lunatic left wing, but they elected a man. You had probably 3,000 people die on 9/11. I misspoke tonight earlier. It wasn't 7,000, but it was 700 to 800 people of that 3,000 was in New Jersey.
Right.
And Todd Beamer, who was
Right.
famous for the "Let's Roll" line on the
Right.
plane in Shanksville, was buried. He's buried in New Jersey. Him and his wife Lori lived there. And it is an insult. It is a slap in the face. It is like somebody defecating on the memory and defecating on the families of the victims of 9/11 and really the nation in general, to put a person in power that was basically part of that 9/11 machinery when you get down to it. But how do we get here? And I look at California tonight. I'm with you on Hilton. I think him finishing first is going to be good, but he's got a much bigger hill to climb.
Right.
And with the general, but it would not be as big a hill, Leslie, if two things happened. If the established Republicans would get behind him and Christians would go vote.
I know. And Chad Bianco, his 12% will certainly go to Hilton.
We hope.
But that's still, not 40%. And you're going to have Karen Bass, who's blows my mind that incompetent walking dirtbag is going to retain her mayorship. I'm blown away. It's like Graham Plattner. How in the world does a person who identifies as the same ideology as a Nazi, because he's there to kick rear and make the population better? I heard some kind of an explanation that he'd given for that tattoo to a girlfriend. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And he abuses women. He basically beat them.
I know.
He's a total womanizer and thinks women are below pond scum. His words. This man is a horrible human being. He's only been married to his wife now for 2 years, but what she sees in him, I mean, she looks like an idiot too, but I guess they share that same crazy ideology. But the fact that this man has so many skeletons in his closet, I guarantee you they're going to be maybe running back to Mills before we know it. I don't know.
That. I'm not sure about that. I know that's the sort of the what do you call it? The conventional wisdom, because that's what the TV pundits are saying. But this is the crazy thing, Leslie. You've got the nuts on The View. Not that we should take a lot of substance in what The View says, but you got Sunny Holston out there saying just yesterday, she says, I don't care that he's all these things, because what you just described, she described. And she says, I know he's these things, but I don't care. I hate Trump. I hate Trump worse. I don't want Trump to have the Senate. And I think that Mills, the only hope I've got for Maine, not that I'm a big fan of Susan Collins, but I hope that Mills staying on that ticket will sort of bust up the momentum, and that vote would be split, and then Collins sneaks in, through the back door, because she's not. Look,
she always does that too.
They always does that too.
Yeah. Amazing, and as she's probably one of my bottom 3 Republicans in the Senate for sure, but I can say at least she does have some sense. I think she is in a very liberal state. I think she's I would say she's one of the bottom 5 least conservative people. I consider her a rhino, but she's a heck of of a lot better than Plattner. So I would embrace that. But yeah, Sonny Hostin said, hold your nose and go in and pull the lever for him. What is wrong with these people? There's no moral high ground. None.
No, it's not even a high ground, my friend. Look, look at the people we just named. Look at the radicalization of the Dem Party. How have we gotten to this place that we have literally got non-citizens, non-Americans in power, Muslims, Islamic jihadists that believe in an Islamic jihadist fascism? They believe that Islam should take over America, that all conservatives, all Christians, all MAGA people should be executed. You had Paul Krugman, since we talked this week. What a fruitcake. The New York Times basically wrote an article, went on a podcast this week, and he said we need to demagatize this country. And which basically what he was saying is we need to kill everybody that supports Trump. Even Holston today said that people that support Trump need to be punished. In other words, there needs to be some kind of a punishment penal system for anybody that supports the MAGA movement. Leslie, that is talk that comes out of the pages of Hitler and Germany. They always call Trump Hitler and they always call Trump dictator, but they project onto him exactly what they believe that they want to do. They want to turn America into a dictatorship for themselves. Trump's not a dictator, but that's what they want. No. They want that.
I know when Sonny Hostin was saying that, I was just screaming, saying, do you think you would, A, have the right to say this if what you said happened to be true, which it's not, and second, you have the right to vote. You have the right to do what you want and to be a kook. And that's and what happened, I think we can take our cue from the UK too. This poor child, young man that was murdered.
Henry Nowak.
By this sword-wielding man who the cops just instantly believed because of the minority status. I mean, that's where we're heading. They're a little ahead of us on the, all the aliens. They let in a lot of them. So a lot of it is totally their fault. Ours, fortunately, we didn't let them all in. But, I mean, that's a tall task, and that's what we have to look forward to in about 5 to 10 years. I'm telling you.
Scary stuff, isn't it? Scary stuff.
Oh.
What did you get to see the hearings with Marco Rubio and McMullen on the Hill yesterday and today? Can you believe the nuttiness of our senators and representatives? I cannot believe that we've got these people representing us, Leslie. What is wrong with this country right now? The questions and the way they treated Green, treated McMullen, and then these nutcase ladies that Marco Rubio was left defending his shoes. I mean,
oh, I know. It's on one thing. I'm listening to the shoe thing and everything, and I'm thinking, these are the most incredibly petty. I can't really find a real subject, craziness. But then I thought, it is just, it's totally pulling down and insulting. And it wears on these. I feel so sorry for the Holmans. And I thought Mullen did a fantastic job of putting Green is an absolute. I am going to be so like The Crown with Sheila Jackson Lee when she was gone. I'm going to celebrate Al Green being gone too. He is just one of the most absurd human beings on the planet. And I had the pleasure of being in Houston last week whenever he went down and was defeated, and it was just delightful. God gave me that. It was so nice. I'm like, thank you. I needed a good, there is some justice in the world kind of thing. So, but yeah, I mean, my question, I'm thinking this, have these people always been this radical? and we just didn't know about it because it was underground. And now that all these people are coming forward, they're able to express themselves, or have we really turned into a bunch of fruitcakes?
Both. Everything you just said. Everything you just said. We have turned into a bunch of fruitcakes. And I think that the question about them haven't already always been this radical. I think to a degree they have been, but the country's changed. We had a young lady. We had a young lady on tonight, Jordan Brace, and she's an up and coming star and conservative kid. She's just out of high school. I mean, it's amazing. And Magdalene Rose gave us a blessing in getting her on the show tonight. Very well spoken. And I asked her about the youth, and she believes there's definitely an eye opening of the youth. But Leslie, there's a lot of kids that are not opening their eyes, and I have to say, we can't just lay it on the youth. It's us older folks. It's not the youth vote. I don't think even went out and voted in these primaries. It's the older. And see, this is where we as adults have got to take a look in the mirror. We can't keep laying it off on the kids and saying, well, the youth this, the youth that. And we've got to get our youth educated and indoctrinated. Let me tell you something. The youth, I think, are seeing through the BS. I think the youth are seeing through the BS more than most adults are. And most adults are being befooled. And I don't know I know it's a spiritual matter because we're in this time. The Bible said we'd be in these kind of days. Truth is at a premium. Our government is, there are certain elements and certain people that are controlling our government that are corrupt. I've never seen, and what I noticed in all the questions that came from Dems, and I'll just add Scott Bassett to this. You had people that was, they start their monologue or their TikTok video is that this is the most corrupt government in the history of America, and they absolutely forget Joe Biden. They forget Obama. They forget the crap that those two men put on this country. They question Trump's health when they never said a word about Joe Biden's mental health. It is frustrating. As you said, I want to just bite nails and throw stuff at the TV and throw stuff at my computer screen when I see it. And somebody asked me tonight, what do we do about it? And I don't know what we do about it. I don't know.
We vote. We become the Scott Presslers of the world. We take on our own community where we can and train people. I've always said that the Democrats did a better job. They do a better grassroots job than we do. It's just the way it is. And I think in 16 and certainly in 24, we rose to the occasion. But for some reason in midterms too, we just seem so complacent. It's nothing of the spirit that we have in the presidentials. And maybe that's just the way life is. I don't know. I don't feel that way. I'm pretty charged up, and there are always people that I'm passionate to vote against and for. But I don't think people are like us, Chris. I think some people don't put it on the same pedestal. I think voting is voting is voting. It's your responsibility. It's your privilege and your right. And not taking it, even if you're voting for dog catcher, that's a real shame that you don't do it. That's how these people get started in small community jobs. They get on school boards where they immediately start to have an impact by all this trash that they allow and promote, and the transgender and everything like that. And I don't know about you, but here in Oklahoma, we are just shutting down that DEI stuff. We are just not acknowledging it. We are not accepting of it. And I have to hand it to some leadership that we've had, like Mark Wayne Mullen, who has been a great advocate for, we're not going to do this anymore. And that's so important.
Right. I didn't have a chance to talk to Jordan about this because this was probably not in her wheelhouse because it's an older situation involving an older person. But what do you think about the arrest, or not the arrest, but the report tonight that John Bolton, former National Security Advisor, is going to plead guilty? It sort of busts that narrative that Trump is weaponizing the DOJ. No, the DOJ is going after crooks. And
That's right.
they tried to put Trump in jail, and these people that tried to put Trump in jail, including Bolton, he was out there screaming for Trump's imprisonment when the lies about Trump having those classified documents, because he got ticked off with Trump when Trump kicked him out of the government. Well, guess what? What goes around comes around, and judge not, lest you be judged. John Bolton is pleading guilty tonight to the very thing that he threw shade and slandered President Trump over 3 years ago, Leslie. And
it's delicious, isn't it? I mean, it gives it, and the fact that he isn't just being prosecuted, that he's being forced to plead guilty. When I heard that, of course, first you feel, oh, that is such great justice. But then you take it down the next step. That means that what he did was pretty bad and was probably threatened with jail time, that he would plead guilty to some other offense.
Absolutely. Well, I've got the story up here. I'm just going to read Sean Hannity if you'll let me read this. Greg Jarrett was on Hannity tonight. He said John Bolton's guilty plea came because the evidence was overwhelming, pointing to classified documents, security violations, and a probe that was launched by Biden's DOJ of all things. He said Bolton is hoping to avoid prison, as you point out, Sean, by pleading to a single charge instead of facing trial on 18 counts. But the punishment ultimately will be up to the judge and could be as high as 5 years. Bolton caved because he had no defense. He stored thousands of pages of classified top-secret material at his home, and that is a clear violation of the Espionage Act. He then compounded those felonies by sharing the material with family members and probably media types who had no security clearance whatsoever, which created additional crimes. And then when he was indicted, he blamed Trump for targeting him for political reasons. And Democrats like Adam Schiff and Jamie Raskin echoed those accusations. The truth is, it was Joe Biden's Justice Department that launched the criminal investigation into him after intelligence agencies discovered that Iran had hacked his computer and accessed sensitive information that damaged national security. Boy, what a wicked web we weave when slanderous lies we sow the seed. I just made that up, Millie. I think I'm going to become a country music star.
Yeah, you need to start doing poems and rhyming. What did the people who really did nothing for Trump that went to jail? There were two for sure. Were there three men that went?
Manafort and Stone, both of them. Bannon too, really. And I'm no fan of Bannon, but Bannon they put Bannon in jail.
Yeah. So let's give him an equal time based on that. And if they got a year, he needs to get at least a year. What he did was 10 times, 100 times worse because it jeopardized our security. But yeah, let's give him a little taste of their own medicine. Are you ever just like blown away by how many liberal, really uber liberal people there are in the justice systems and in the government?
Very much so. And we're seeing it in the judges because these judges are, look, to be frank with you, Leslie, the only thing that the left has right now are these plants in the Department of Justice, these judges, and they got the media. That's their defense against Trump, and in hopes that they get back in power in November. But honestly, these plants in the DOJ, I've never understood this. Why we don't clean these people out quickly. I know. Whenever a corporation comes in and they take over a business, one of the first things that the new management usually does is fire everybody. In other words, they just start afresh. They say, thank you for your service, but we're here now, and we don't owe you anything. You don't owe us nothing, but you don't have a job. And I think that when one of the mistakes that President Trump made the first time, and he made it the second time, he's made it the second time, not as bad. He should have had a house cleaning before. But especially his second term, he should have just went to everybody in the DOJ, had a plan in place to make sure he had qualified people to be in there. Because, look, you don't have to go before Congress or underlings. That's his job. He appoints, the Department of Justice appoints these people, and that's under the executive branch. But have a house cleaning of house cleanings and get these traitors out of power and our country, because it grieves me to the core to
I
see
know.
these people subvert justice and subvert the country from within. It drives me nuts.
Me too. And now that there's a little distance, I'm wondering how brilliant it was to put Dan Bongino in there with Kash Patel and simply let him uncover and be privy to all of this information. And while he's under, certainly he can't, talk right now, but there will be a statute of limitations on most of that. And I'm telling you, he is going to be a treasure trove of information for the general public. He's got the #1 podcast in the country. I bet he knows so much that we would just probably die of a heart attack on the spot if we knew. And that's so important. That was a brilliant move. I honestly, looking back, I don't think he really wanted to give up his livelihood at that time to make that sacrifice. I don't feel like he was gung-ho, but I think it was part of the master plan of Trump and getting the word out to the people about what's really happening in your government.
Right.
And I can't wait. I can't wait for all the details.
Do you think Tulsi Gabbard, been hearing she's got some time bombs she's about to drop on this Russia hoax and all this? Let me ask this in a broader question. Do you think there's any arrests coming to any of these people that have been part of this apparent attempt to take down the country?
Yeah, I still have some hope for John Brennan. I have hope for Comey. I have to be happy with telling myself the process is, the punishment on some level, because I don't think we can know for 10 years what this poor man, Donald Trump, has been through and will continue to go through the entire rest of his term. They'll probably leave him alone after the fact because they won't really be able to go after an 80-something-year-old man. It won't be as fun for them, or it won't be beneficial, to tell you the truth. But I think he's laying the foundation. I love Marco. I'm leaning towards Marco now. I know we're a couple of years out, but, I just love the way Marco, he just knows so much. And then, of course, I'll see Vance and I'll say, gosh, that kid is great. We have some real winners. We've got DeSantis. I'm not sure what's going on with Tulsi Gabbard. I know, like Pam Bondi, the cancer thing, that's very valid. Tulsi, her husband, is in serious trouble and, may have a terminal diagnosis. So all these things are relevant. I don't think it's always, oh, she's gone. She quit him. Oh, she got fired. She's worthless. I think there may be more behind the scenes. I'm not saying that there weren't bad things that happened, or maybe they didn't do what Trump thought they should do. I don't know. I think that's the case with Pam Bondi, but let's give it a little time and see if Tulsi doesn't have some bombshells she wants to release. Who knows?
Right. I got a question for you on the Iranian U.S. thing. It was reported, since me and you had our little great show Monday night. It was a great show Monday night. But Trump and Bibi had a little brush up, evidently, and sounds like Trump sort of said some things that wasn't too kind to Bibi, because Bibi was attacking Hezbollah. And I've got my own opinion about that, but I want to get yours, because, Leslie, I sense all of this is not happening by mistake tonight, that some of these things that are unraveling on the right, look, I am not a idol worshiper of Israel. I love the Jewish state. I love the Jewish people. I know that government has just as many bad apples in it as ours do. I know that sometimes Israel, in trying to defend itself, may have to be a little zealous in defending itself, but I give them a lot of leeway, and this is why. They don't go out of their way to start wars. I challenge any anti-Semitic fool out there and that's what they are, to tell me one war that Israel started. I want them to show me in history one thing that Israel's did, and then they will, and I know these idiots will say, well, something along the line, well, what about the genocide in Gaza? And that is an absolute fallacious lie. It is a blood libel lie that Israel committed genocide in Gaza simply because Israel didn't attack Gaza. Gaza attacked Israel. The Hamas terrorists launched the October the 7th attack. Israel did not do that. They were in defense. And the way I look at it, I don't care what Israel did in Gaza. I don't care what they did and who they killed. I don't care. And I tell you why. They were doing it in self-defense. You've got an enemy in your gates. Leslie, it would be almost derelict of Bibi not to do it. He would be derelict as a prime minister not to protect his people. And I look at the Hezbollah thing in the same light. Israel did not go into Lebanon to start a war. The war had already been started against them from Lebanon. The Lebanese president tonight is basically begging the world, please help us with our Hezbollah problem. We want to make peace with Israel, but I can't because I got terrorists in. Well, what does Trump think that the Israelis were doing? They were going after the terrorists. And then Iran uses this as a reason to stop talking and stop giving Trump his big win with diplomacy. And I'm going to tell President Trump something tonight. I love him. I don't care what he signs on a piece of paper with these mullahs.
No,
Leslie, it is worthless.
It is. It is. We have to have some sort of a upfront show of faith, and we must have that, because you're right. What they say is not what they do. Never has been since the early part of the Bible, and it will be into the end of time. I am so frustrated on that regard, and I think there's a lot of negativity going on in the background, like we talked about with some of the rhinos and other people. You know, they want Trump to fail on this. I mean, they are willing to risk hurting the U.S. just to bring down Trump. I mean, I really believe that. I always believe that about the Democrats. But there are people on our side with an R by their name that believe that too. That's tragic.
What was your thoughts about the BB call with Trump? I'm an American, and I support my president. What has gotten into Trump, and I got to share this, Amir Tesfaye, who is a great teacher of the Bible. I follow him, and I don't agree. Me and him have a few minor differences, but really for the most part, I agree with pretty much everything Amir teaches. And he posted something a few days ago. I want to thank Cleo for sending that to me. And she sent it to me. When I read it, at first, I sort of took a deep breath and I said, well, maybe. And then I've been thinking about this for a few days. He believes that China trip, Trump has been different since he came back from China. What's your opinion on that? Because he has been acting a little different. And maybe I'm just misreading the tea leaves here. I don't know. But what is it with him and Bibi? Because Bibi has been his only friend in the Middle East.
I know. He has been more subdued. I've noticed that over the last 2 weeks. I would say significantly subdued. That was the verbiage that came to my brain. And I thought, why? He's got to stop saying every day or posting on Truth Social or tweeting that we are probably going to have a deal tomorrow about this conflict.
Totally agree.
He needs to be realistic in the fact that if he knows that's not true, quit saying it. I know people will ask you, he's the master of turning things around and giving, an answer well enough to at least appease his own party. Let's do that. Let's quit this every single day. Hey, we're one signature or one step or 1 second away from this. 24 hours. I'm really frustrated with that. As far as the Bibi thing, I think Bibi probably dug his heels in and said, look, we're protecting our people, you protect yours. And I have to believe they've had some heated conversations anyway. I mean, in my mind, they are so aligned, I guess you could say morally, and probably the way they view government, protecting, number one. But they're going to have differences, don't you think? I mean, I think that's healthy.
I'll agree with that to a degree, but this is where my perspective is a little different. I don't disagree with you. I get what you're saying. And yes, it is healthy. But in any other time of history, I would tend to fully support that. But we're not in any other time of history. We are in a unique time that every single force in the world right now, you got this Russia-Ukraine thing. You had 19 Republicans tonight vote with the Democrats to send more money to the Ukraine. You've got a fascist takeover of America from within. That these elections are not going the Republicans' way. Many of them. Some of them are. Some of them are not. Most of these radical people that are being elected are radical. I'm talking about wanting America to burn, the Constitution burned, no rights for Christians. You've got Israel surrounded by a sea of hate by every single Muslim country in the world. And Saudi Arabia is slow to come around. They're even wavering on this Abraham Accord.
I know.
And I think that in the middle of this, Trump sits with this. And I love President Trump, and I love to say this because people think that if you say something negative, you're forsaking him. I'm not forsaking him. I'm very disappointed, though, that he took his anger out over Iran's refusal to come to the table on Bibi. It's not Bibi's fault. And that call to me was so disrespectful because if it was me and what I'd be doing on the phone, I'd be asking Bibi to come have a Whopper with me every day and eat lunch, and I'd buy his lunch. And I'd say, Bibi, I'm going to give you grace and I'm going to give you a release. Clean these you-know-what's out because I don't want to have to send my troops over there to do it. Clean them out. I'll back you. Don't worry about the UN. Don't worry about the New York Times. Don't worry about the Jerusalem Post. Don't worry about the Dems. Don't worry about your government. Don't worry about anything. You do your job. Protect your people. Clean these terrorists out. And then maybe we can forge something together in the Middle East. Leslie, no peace plan is going to work until they deal with the terrorists that want to tear it down.
It's just an ugly weed that's going to grow bigger and bigger. And yeah, you can knock it down to the ground, but you don't kill the roots. And it's just going to pop back up again in 5 years or be tremendously powerful in 10. I get that. I guess part of me, I think we should be Israel's greatest friend and ally, but I also think that there are parts of Trump that must think it's got to be America first. I'm juggling an election here, a couple of wars, an economy. This usually has affected our economy, gas prices. I mean, that's a lot of balls to juggle at one time. I don't know of another human being that could possibly do that.
I'll agree with that. But you make my point too.
I mean, he's not perfect. I mean, I will be curious to see how this kind of plays out. I mean, friends get mad at each other and they have disagreements and they usually make nice and hug and move on and agree to disagree. I don't know if this is one of those times. I don't know if, maybe Bibi's asking more of us than we're willing to give. I don't know.
But maybe so. But, Bibi didn't lead us into this war because that's what the Hodge twins and the Tucker Carlsons and the Megans and the Candaces and all the other anti-Semitic demons are out there saying that we were led into this war with Iran by Israel, and Trump has said over and over, no, I actually led Israel into this war. And my point is this, and look, I'm not trying to be a Bibi defender tonight, but I appreciated one thing I did respect about him. Of the two men, Bibi showed a lot more grace to Trump than Trump showed to Bibi. And that phone call should have never gotten out in the public. And that's part of the problem is we've got a bunch of demonic individuals running the media tonight. And everything they can do to divide Israel and America, they're going to do it. Anything they can do to divide our countries, they're going to do. That phone call should have been a private conversation between Trump and Bibi.
Of course.
But regardless of that, Trump, again, the people that he should have been using the F-bomb on was the mullahs. The people he should have been using the F-bomb on was Hezbollah and Lebanon and Hamas and the Saudis.
I know.
And the enemy. I know. That's my point. I get the fact that him and Bibi are not going to see eye to eye on everything. I do not fault Bibi, though, Leslie, for protecting his people. And I don't fault him for that. In fact, I applaud him for that. And Trump should applaud him because let me tell you this. I'll give you this scenario. And I think I shared this with you Monday night, but this was before all this broke. If there was a cartel unit in Mexico tonight, okay, and let's just say that they got mad at the United States and they started firing rockets into the south part of Texas. But let's just say, just for sake of argument, that Israel and Mexico had an agreement that they were trying to make peace, okay? So when these cartels shoot rockets into the United States, and the United States says, we're going to go bomb the you-know-what out of these cartels, because we're not, Trump would never more allow that than Adam's house cat.
Of course not. Of course
and then
not.
If we tell Israel, we say, well, we got a right to protect ourselves. Do you think that Israel would get mad at the Americans for doing that? No, they wouldn't. Because you know why? Because to me, security of your own people is more important than a peace treaty. But we did not give Israel that same grace. Because that's really ultimately what all this was about. That's why I see that.
And I don't think that Bibi got us into this war.
He did not.
I think Trump had this plan forever and a day that this would come to fruition. I don't know if he knew the time yet or he was waiting for things to happen. I think he's detested that 50 years of presidents have allowed this to continue and them to continue to harm our country and kill Americans. I applaud Trump so much for standing up to that. With that being said, our agenda is different than that of Israel. In the fact that, it's apples to oranges. We should align ourselves with the fact that, hey, what we're doing is cleaning house. We're getting rid of Hezbollah with Israel doing that. We're getting rid of the mullahs. We're getting rid of this and that. We should have that enough common ground and understanding that should be enough. But I also do know for a fact that Trump does have a tendency to fly off the handle, and he's wonderful then about regrouping and talking to people that he trusts, and maybe this thing will be explained or remedied in the next week or so. I hope so, because I don't like to fight with them either. I think we go against God's grace when we fight with them.
I was about to just add, Leslie, if you think about what's happened since he's done that, Iran's doubled down. And, and I'm like you, because I keep hearing this. I heard it from him today even. He said, well, we're going to have a deal in place by the weekend. And I think it's best if Trump, the more he says that and he gets people's hopes up and then nothing happens, all he does is hand the left the ammunition to do exactly what they're doing and scream up and down that he's wavering and he's bowing to Iran. Right. I'm telling you, it's best sometimes. I've learned the hard way. You just keep your mouth shut. It's best just to keep your mouth shut. Let people say what they want to say, do the stupid lame blank they want to do, think what they want to think. It's okay, honey. You can't misquote silence. So let the left do their thing. Let people do their lame stuff. Let me tell you something. They can't misquote silence. And if they put words out there, and I'll answer the questions about the phone call in just a second out in the chat tonight, but the phone call is a great example. Look, it's not Trump's fault. I don't blame, and I'm not trying to come down on Trump about the phone call. I get Trump. I've always gotten Trump. He's not the first time he's used the F-bomb on Israel. It ain't the
No.
first time that him and Bibi he's probably used the F-bomb. You know, telling Bibi he's crazy, telling Bibi he kept him out of jail. That's what you call it, sociopathic. You know,
Yeah.
that's intimidation, and that's unfair. That is unfair because Bibi could turn around and say a lot of things about Trump.
Of course, they both they both have too many skeletons in their closet to really go down that road. I think that's just the bully in Trump. I think that is how he is wired, and I'm certainly not taking up for it. I abhor the F word, and I hate it when I hear that. I think there's a part of me that says I'm old enough in this world to know that is part of the vernacular of grown men in many situations. Doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't make it more palatable, but it is reality. And I don't like that talk, but I would rather have that and somebody standing up for me. I can't control. I was thinking about narcissism today. I met somebody that was so narcissistic, and I thought, they're such a good leader. And I thought, you have to have a pretty strong degree of narcissism to
You
be
do.
a
You
successful
actually do.
president,
Yes.
vice president, manager of a large company, manager of a lot of things. And it's just a way that allows us to have people that are not afraid of other people or afraid to say what's on their mind. I mean, you can hack it down to that. It's pretty simple. And I think this is narcissism 101. I think both of these men are narcissists. They've had incredible successes in their life, and they sure don't like failure. And it's two men in a locker room almost trying to one-up each other in the steam room. I did this.
I
I'm better
understand,
than this.
and you're right. You're right. But I will tell you this. I guess what I'm trying to say too is this. This is not the time to be doing that. We have got a dangerous situation on our hands with this country of Iran. And this whole thing could blow up at any time. And to the individual out there that, let me just put it to you about AIPAC, don't be bringing anti-Semitism in this chat. I won't say any more than that. You're in the wrong dojo. You might want to go carry that to the Hodge twin chat. They'll enjoy you over there. But we don't allow that. Congress is not being controlled by the AIPAC. And if you don't agree with the war, don't agree with the war. But don't blame the Jews. You might need to go somewhere else with that tonight. I'm not in the mood to put up with it. But Leslie, what I'm trying to say is that Trump and Bibi both, they need to cool down. And they need to come to grips with the fact they've got a common enemy. And whether Trump wants to see, maybe he understands this. Bibi's enemies are plural. Israel's got enemies on 7 fronts.
Right.
Okay? And if I was Trump, I would understand that these enemies that want to destroy Bibi, they have no love lost for America. They have no love lost for us over here too.
No.
And I think it's just common sense. Common sense would tell us that we don't need to be fighting right now with each other. And to me, it's just, I guess what I'm trying to get my head around is this. It's so black and white to me. There's no gray area here with Iran. This is a fascist regime for 47 years that has basically killed millions of people over 47 years through terrorism, through direct conflict with the Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, financing terror. And Trump is the first president that's had the gumption and the courage to go and do something. And I shared this with you Monday night. I shared it with James Akers, I know, Tuesday night. If we're going to fight, if we're going to get involved in a conflict like this, do it right. Don't get political with it. Don't get you get in and all of a sudden you back off, get in, back off, get in, back off. It's what happened to Vietnam. It's what happened to us in other conflicts where we don't go in to win. If you're going to fight, fight to win.
Absolutely.
Am I wrong on that? Am I wrong on that?
I totally agree with that. And maybe there is some degree that I think Trump is such an incredible planner and has such a vision but I don't think, and maybe Bibi thought this as well, this is going to be a piece of cake. We already, the U.S. bombed them last July, all of their nuclear capabilities, basically. Of course, it doesn't take a whole lot to restart that program. That's the reality. Here we are 8 or 10 months later, and we're dealing with it all over again. So are we, we're definitely at a different level, but I'm with you. Let's go in, let's win it, let's take them out. These people are crazy, though. They've got nothing left to lose. They don't care about human life. They don't care about other people, their own, anyone in their circle. It's only about Allah and the infidels. And as soon as we can understand that, the better off we'll be.
I'll put it like this. I think we've got about a month now. Today is the 4th of June. 1 month from today, we celebrate 250 years in this country. And I would say that Trump is it's going to be a cut, bait, or run thing between now and July 4th. I think that the next 30 days are going to be very intense. And Roger, I understand your comment about us getting worked up about it. I am worked up about it. And I'll tell you why I'm worked up about it. Because, again, you say, well, they're both wanting for a good outcome. Well, I tell you what, a good outcome for Israel is that Israel protects its people. And I don't think Trump, the tone of that call was basically, in my opinion, my humble opinion was, Israel's security be damned. All I care about is my legacy about getting a peace treaty signed with a bunch of fascist liars. And I think that it's wrong that we did that, because I'm with Israel that they have a right to defend themselves. So, yeah, I'm getting worked up about it. It's worth getting worked up about it, because America would not put up with this crap, would they, Leslie? They would not put up with it.
No, and I think you've got a lot of variables here. After I heard that call, the one thing that went through my mind, too, is what does Rubio say? What does Vance say? What does Bessent say? I mean, all these factors that are affected, fuel, energy, the economy, the interest rates. There's just so many things at risk that if we don't get things in control in the next month or so, it's going to be bad. I really do. I think you're right. We are there. We are on the threshold. And I think Trump knows that too. I bet, he's very pompous, but there has to be a huge degree of worrying about, how do we wrap this up, and how do I still make peace with these others, and we get what we went to the table for.
Well, let me ask you a quick question about that. Scenario time. What happens if we get something in writing, okay? Let's just say we get something in writing with Iran. And, again, later this summer, that there is a terrorist attack in the Middle East, that Iran goes off and says blank you, and they attack Israel, or Hamas attacks Israel again, or Hezbollah attacks Israel. What do you think Trump would do if Bibi had to retaliate? Do you think that he would do to Israel what all past presidents have done, is tie her hands and say, please don't attack back because we've got this peace treaty in place? Because, see, that's exactly the pattern of Clinton. That was the pattern of Obama. It was a pattern of Biden. That was the pattern of Bush Jr.
Yeah.
Every president in the past has tied her hands every time she gets attacked.
Well, I think that we have to stay out of that. I think we have to allow Israel to do what Israel needs to do. Maybe they're both too close to the situation. I've never really thought about that. I agree that Israel, no matter what, has a right to defend the country. I believe that 100%. Do you feel like Bibi is leaning on Trump too much to solve this problem, or
I think it's the other way around. I think it's the other way around.
I think Bibi is very resolute. I think he You know,
And Trump can't have it both ways. He can't
no.
scold Israel for defending itself and then basically tell Israel in the same breath, I'm going to outsource this to you. Because Leslie, this is the fly in the ointment. If we don't get Israel's help, guess who's going to have to fight that war on the ground? The United States of America. And if
I
you
know.
think people are upset about this war right now with the gas prices, wait till Trump has to go before the nation and say, guys, we have determined that we can't fix this situation through airstrikes. We can't fix this stuff through the blockade, through the naval blockade. We're going to have to put your boys and girls on the ground in Iran to go remove these mullahs. Leslie, you ain't seen no upright.
Yeah, it will not be pretty, and it will
No?
not be pretty for a while. It will be devastating to the conservative movement. It will be devastating to people, to the economy. I mean, I have to honestly tell you the truth. If I looked back on last summer and I saw everything that unfolded, I would have called you a liar that could not happen. I mean, I feel like that sometimes. I did not foresee this happening. Things were, I think, improving greatly within a matter of, I mean, weekly you could update how great things were going. I mean, the first 100 days, Trump had so many wins. Of course, he was just fixing a very broken thing that mostly Biden and Obama did. But regardless of that, we still have to look at reality. We can't poo-poo the gas prices. We can't say, the grocery bills don't matter. Energy costs are skyrocketing in homes and businesses, and fast food has to continue to raise their prices. When you're a family of four and you're going through McDonald's and it's $8 more than it was this time last year, that's another day of food for these people.
Yeah.
And you and I are both very lucky and blessed in life that we don't have that concern. But I'm telling you, I know people that do have that concern. I have families that they struggle so much. Now, the tax cuts and the income tax thing, we're not able to really reap the benefits of that, to understand the benefits of that because of what's happened in the last 3 months. And that's a real shame because it's very true and it's very relative and it did happen.
I'll agree.
It's been eaten up by gas. My daughter just told me, Mom, I'm paying $80 more a month for gas than I did 3 months ago.
It's a lot.
$80 more. That is a huge amount.
That's a lot. No, that's you think about that. That's about six. That's your light bill, your water bill.
Yeah,
that could be your cable bill. That could be your internet bill. You put all that. You could pay 4 bills with $80 a month.
Absolutely,
at least in some markets. But Leslie, and again, I think you're hitting on something. And I was just sitting here thinking about this. Isn't it amazing the patterns of history with our country? How that presidents who have second terms, that there is just something about these second terms that they struggle for some reason. You look at Ronald Reagan's second term; he had Iran-Contra. You had George Bush Sr. didn't get a second term. Bill Clinton's second term, he had the Lewinsky and the impeachment scandal, and it was his second term, and the failure with Camp David and all these things that came out with Clinton. I wouldn't call him your old buddy, but the individual that has played a role in your life, sadly. And you look at even Bush Jr. Bush Jr., I think, and I know there's people out here that can't stand the Bushes, and I'm not a big fan of them, but I will tell you this, I'd have rather had Bush Jr. in part of this country than Al Gore.
Oh, my gosh.
But look at his second term. He had Katrina, and Katrina defined his whole presidency.
Yeah.
And Obama, the same thing. Obama's first term, and then he beats Romney in 2012, and then he basically, him and Eric Holder systematically weaponized the IRS and all these scandals. And somebody sent me something, and I'll show it to the crowd. It's not for kids, but It is amazing that you never heard a woman accuse Obama of anything, and I'll just leave that and let people chew on that. I'll let
Yeah,
people
that's
chew on
not
that
going to
one.
happen.
But to be frank with you, I look at Trump, and I had a lot of hope. I'm like you. Last year, this time, the country was beginning to percolate. Even after 6 months, it was beginning to percolate. And I'm not saying that he made the wrong decision with Iran. I'm not, because I believe this needed to be done. And I think that what you said a while ago about the attitude, when you're a leader, that's what you do. You make tough decisions and you stay by them and you stick with them. People don't have to agree. People can Monday morning quarterback, and I hate that. I don't want to come across on my show that we're trying to Monday morning quarterback, because I'm not, because these are not easy decisions. But I do believe that we have one ally in the Middle East, one, and that's Israel. And we need to treat her as that and respect her as such, and take into consideration who we're dealing with on all sides of this, not just Iran, but Turkey and Egypt and Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Oman. Oman was sitting there trying to assist Iran just last week in the Gulf.
I know.
We can't trust these people, Leslie.
No,
we can't.
No, and we can't trust Iran. Therein lies the rub. What do you do when you know you're dealing with a dishonest broker on every level? How do you make that work? On one degree of it, you almost can't win for losing, because it's kind of a losing situation unless we must take out the leadership. I mean, that, to me, not going in there, I think that was the biggest faux pas, acting like we were just going to, clean house on the top. Again, these people have no conscience. They do not believe in human life. They do not believe the way we believe. We have to understand that that changes everything. There's nothing that we have in common with these people that will make them be reasonable. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's just,
I'll agree.
It's horrible. I mean, what do you do? Where does Trump go from here? Really, seriously. I've thought about that. What is the best outcome at this point? What do you think?
And I can't. That's what scares me, because I don't know what is defined as a good outcome. Because the good outcome is that you've got a regime change in Iran, and Leslie, I don't see that happening. And again, let me just go even further with the regime change. Even if you change regimes, we found this out. We found this out in the Middle East before. You start changing governments. Look what happened in Libya. Look at what happened in Egypt. Look what happened in Iraq. You start tinkering with these governments, you don't know what's coming in its place.
Right.
It could be 10 times worse.
I know. Yeah, be careful what you ask for. You just may get it. So that's true. I mean, I've thought about that. What is the best outcome right now for America and for the people? That's one big piece we really haven't even talked about tonight. Those poor people, the inhumanity of what they're dealing with, the hunger, the fear. I mean, imagine how horrible that must be. I mean, I can't express words as to how bad it must be for these people.
Totally.
And I'm getting, do they hate us at this point? Everybody says, oh, they love America and they want freedom. Maybe they just want a piece of bread for the first time in 3 days. I don't know,
Leslie, let me tell you something. You've just hit on something, because, and I think that's another thing that Trump has been counting on, is that with all the strikes that America has given and what they've done to weaken Iran's military, I think that deep down he hoped that the Iranian people would rise up and take over their government, and that's not happened for whatever reason. But again, I'm like you. I'm not so sure what the Iranian people want. Look, it's not America's call. Whatever government goes up in its place, if we even took the mullahs down, it's not our call to put our own form of democracy up. Bush Jr. found out the hard way. Iraq didn't want American democracy. And
No,
we
no,
found out the hard way.
they're not. We don't have the same
We
culture
don't.
or anything. So what do we expect in its place? I mean, we're pretty aware of what we've got. Things, the nuclear, you can use that nuclear piece of the puzzle that changed everything if they're able to get a nuclear weapon. I agree with Trump 100%. That cannot happen on any level. But the people have no weapons. And I say that like guns, like we don't know about knives and stuff, but a knife doesn't do very well against a machine gun. And, there are so many people, they must live in fear and terror. There's been a blockout on the internet. They don't know what's happening down the block. How do you live like that for a sustained period of time and not be angry and not, So that's a huge piece of
Excellent
it for
point.
me looking at them. They may get to the point, if this goes on a year, they'll hate us. They'll detest us. They'll be dying of starvation and not have basic services like electricity or gasoline. So I don't know.
No, I'm with you.
It's hard.
Well, I want to make it clear to our audience tonight because it's inevitable that people take things we say and twist and put words in our mouth. I do not want our audience to think that we are walking away from our support of President Trump. If anything, it deepens my support. It deepens my resolve to pray for the man, and it deepens my resolve to make sure that this midterm goes right, because he's going to need all the help he can get, because he's got enough backstabbers and rhinos in the Congress as it is, and we got to clean this rhino. We've got to clean this rhino scent out, and I'm telling you, I'm praying, and I'll to my audience when we get to your questions here, because we're going to be with you a while tonight. It's a late show. We'll deal with the phone call. It doesn't matter who leaked the phone call. It doesn't matter because it was debunked at first, but Trump unbunked it in an interview.
Yeah.
He said it actually happened, because when we first reported this Tuesday night, I even said it's likely this did not happen. And then I got up Wednesday morning and Trump was talking to Miranda Devine. He said, "Yeah, I told him to F off, basically." And I was like,
I know.
Okay, I guess we're going to be coming on Thursday night and saying that phone call was real, by the way, guys. That phone call actually happened.
Well, you don't want to see that side. We have to remember that Trump is still very human, and the traits that he has as a leader, he's a narcissist.
Absolutely.
And God love him. I have never supported him more than I do on this day. I think
agree.
if anybody can fix things, it's him. I would despair if this happened to be George Bush or Obama or anyone. I don't think there's a man on this planet that has the fortitude and vision that Trump has. So, with that being said, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? That's the $1 million question.
I'm with you. Buddy, I asked you for 15 minutes. You gave me an hour. And I want to thank you. We're going to do this again next week. I got a feeling we'll be back on here next week. I'm going to let you wrap us up at this late hour. I got a lot to talk to you about next week about these crazy Dems and this left-wing push. What do you think is, real quick as we wrap it up, what's caused this radicalization of the Dem Party? What's caused it?
In part, weak Republicans and people that are not willing to stand up to crazy. I'm always amazed that people think socialism is a winner. That blows me away. That's what these people are about. They're about socialism, redistribution of wealth. Bernie Sanders, Liz Warren, all these crazies. Maybe they have always been crazy, but it has brought all of these people out of the woodwork that are absolutely nutcases. And they don't know how good they have it. They don't know what a great place they live in. I saw where 18% of all Democrats think America is great. 18%. I think this was people under 40. I think that just goes to show you indoctrination. It's about these kids have been indoctrinated, and we have to pray that we have people that can help educate them. That's why Charlie Kirk is such a huge loss, and no one really has stepped into his place yet. Just like with Rush, nobody will ever step into those shoes.
Yeah.
And we just have to pray there's enough young people that have a vision like that, like Charlie did, that can have a conversation and not call you a stupid, jerk or anything like that, can be respectful and try to get through to some of those kids, because I truly believe Charlie Kirk made a huge difference in electing President Trump for the second time.
I do too.
I have no doubt.
And it cost him his life. It literally
did.
cost him his life. It really did. Well, listen, buddy. Listen, I want you to get some rest. I will be in touch with you next week. We're going to get you back on. And
Okay.
we're going to just announce, I'll just say this tonight. Leslie and I are talking about doing a summer, sometimes late summer, early fall. We're going to start our own little radio show, whatever you want to call it, and we'll be on Spotify, Apple, and iTunes, and it'll be audio, of course, it won't be video, but I couldn't ask for a better co-host. You always bring a lot to the table, and you were the one person I was praying to God could be up tonight, and you answered the call, friend. Appreciate you. I really do. I mean that.
Of course,
Good
and
stuff
I appreciate
tonight.
you. Thank you
God
for
bless
doing
you.
what you do.
Bless
Okay,
you now.
bye-bye.
Have a good night. Leslie Millwee, everybody. Put some fire in that house. We're grateful for her. And folks, please, when we have a guest, I love you all. I know some of you are new tonight. When we've got a guest, please be respectful to my guests and no paragraphs, because it distracts from what we're saying. And we give you a chance at the end to say what you want to say, which we're at that time right now. If you've got something to say, go ahead. We got a lot of video to speak to you about tonight, and I'll read your comments here in just a second. This is the Dems' great hypocrisy of the year. This is Graham Plattner, the Nazi laced person that is running in Maine. These are all the Dems that would not defend Brett Kavanaugh against baseless accusations, but they're defending this monster up in Maine tonight. This is Chuck Schumer. Roll the tape.
You have not said if you're still endorsing Graham Plattner. Are you still supporting Graham Plattner?
As I said, I endorse Graham Plattner. We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate. Thank you.
That's Chuck Schumer. I'm going to play that again.
You have not said if you're still endorsing Graham Plattner. Are you still supporting Graham Plattner?
As I said, I endorse Graham Plattner. We're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate. Thank you.
And Tia, that wasn't for you what I was saying, dear. You don't have to apologize. I'm going to get to your questions. Actually, your questions are very good. Schumer is one. Here's Elizabeth Warren, who was basically, this is what she said in 2019 when Kavanaugh, or 18, when Kavanaugh was on the Senate questioning him about a yearbook all the way back 45 plus years ago. This is the hypocrisy of the Dems.
The Republicans have decided they can just roll this one on through, and they can roll over not only Dr. Ford, not only the other accusers, but roll over millions of women who have had it with men who decide that they are entitled and they don't have to listen to complaints about sexual assault.
It was never proven. Not one credible accusation against Brett Kavanaugh was ever proven. They paid Baisley Ford to do it. Just like they paid E. Jean Carroll to accuse Trump of the same thing. You got credible things. He's even admitted to some of this stuff. But the Dems are there defending it. Including Warren. This is Markey. Another one. CNN today. Roll tape.
Before we go, Senator, I have to ask you about embattled Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner. He met with Democrats in D.C. yesterday. Will you endorse his campaign?
I know that he is out and he is campaigning on kitchen cable issues. I know that he is opposed to this slush fund, which Donald Trump is putting together. He's putting affordability front and center for the voters of Maine to decide this race. And I think that he has the right issues to be focusing upon this year in Maine, as I am doing, and I think other people who are really concerned about the direction our country is going in right now.
It sounds like he has your support, Senator.
Well, I am convinced that he is running on all of the right issues for our country.
All of the right issues for our country. This is the insanity of the Democrat Party. This is the insanity of the Democrat Party. Christians out there that are voting for this stuff, that are voting by not voting. Don't get me started tonight. It's 12:30. I'm in a 12:30 mood. This is Gavin Newsom. This is what he did yesterday, or he bragged about before the election started here this week, Tuesday. These slick, they're not stupid, folks. I'm going to tell you, the Dems are not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing, including Mr. Newsom. Roll the tape.
You've spoken about accountability. Do you think Democrats will hold you accountable for standing by this principled neutrality by withholding your endorsement in this non-possible scenario where two Republicans take tickets?
Yeah, look, my focus has been making sure that doesn't happen, and I've exercised not just a focus, but I've exercised through some action efforts to encourage that doesn't happen by making my case, and will continue to make my case. I do not see that scenario taking place. I've said this before, so I'll repeat it. I don't anticipate this need to be the case, but there is a break the glass scenario, and there's many people that have a deep understanding of what it would look like if Democrats were locked out, and we're going to do everything to make sure that doesn't happen. I'll leave it at that.
As good as said, they're going to cheat. This is Real Robert on X tonight. He says, as long as they're counting ballots after Election Day in California, it only means one thing: Spencer Pratt and Steve Hilton are out of the runoffs for LA mayor and governor. We hope that's not the case. In fact, Gavin Newsom confirmed it just 2 weeks ago when he had this press conference. When asked about the possibility of ending up with two Republican candidates and no Democrats, he said, we will have to topple the state government of California, and that is exactly what the Democrats are going to do. We all have agencies. We can shape the future. I don't anticipate this being the case. And you heard him say it, the break glass scenario. There are many people who have a deep understanding of what it would look like if Democrats were locked out, and we're going to do everything to make sure that doesn't happen. What he did, basically, he signed a piece of legislation that poll watchers cannot go into the vote counting. In other words, when they're voting and counting the votes, there's going to be no oversight. And that's the Dems. That is the Dems. That is the Dems. Let's see here. You saw Liz Warren from 2018 all fired up about Brett Kavanaugh and throwing nothing but mud and accusation and slander against Brett Kavanaugh. This is her tonight when asked about Graham Plaitner.
Aren't you worried about more coming out about his past that could damage his chances?
What I'm worried about is another day of war in Iran.
Are these accusations disturbing to you?
What is disturbing to me is what's happening in this economy and how right now the Republicans just sign off on it.
We call them hypocrites. That's a hypocrite. Pocahontas is a hypocrite. It is damnable what they're doing to embrace this guy in Maine. But if there's a silver lining, it's 74-year-old Janet Mills, because she's still on that ballot. And she made her constituents aware of that yesterday. And I think what's going to happen is that if there's any Democrats in Maine that have got just a little bit of common sense, just a little bit in that noggin of theirs, they are not going to go in there and pull that lever for this Plaitner. I may be wrong about that, but it's going to split the vote. And ultimately, I believe Collins, I hope, will take that seat if that is the case. If that is the case. Crazy, crazy, crazy thing. Now, a couple of other videos I'm going to talk to you. This is Al Green today. This is him with Mark Wayne Mullen. Folks, I tell you, Trump's cabinet, they need to get hazard pay when they go up on the Hill. This is the nuts and the loons and the fruitcakes they have to deal with. The illustrious Al Green that, thank God, is going into pasture come January.
Mr. Secretary, would do what happened to Ruby.
Are you calling me a racist?
A racist.
I'm asking a question.
Reclaiming my time, asking to shut up. Shut up.
Shut up.
It's my time.
I'm not going to let anybody call me a racist, Chairman.
And
he will not.
Tell him to shut up.
No one will call me a racist. I'm Cherokee too. My family has been pretty tolerant.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's what him and Rubio both had to put up with. This is the nut job and the fruitcake that was asking about Rubio's shoes. Roll tape.
You guys kidding me? I mean, is this the Foreign Affairs Committee or is this like a circus?
You won't admit President Trump is losing this reckless war of choice. And just like you couldn't admit that the shoes the president bought you were too big. You clearly don't know what winning means. And not because the facts are unclear to you, it's because telling the truth would cost you your job. And the American people are entitled to a Secretary of State who tells them the truth even when the president doesn't want to hear it. And my constituents, our service members, deserve better. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I don't know what shoes she's talking about. What is she talking about? I don't know about the shoes. I mean, he gave me some Florsheim shoes. They're actually pretty good. They fit fine. I don't know what she's talking about. And maybe that's what she's referring to.
Your shoes look very nice today, Mr. Secretary.
How can you see them? They're way down here. We're talking about shoes. Are you guys kidding me? I mean, is this the Foreign Affairs Committee or is this like a circus?
It's a circus. It's a circus, Marco. These are the people that are representing your government tonight, neighbor. These are the people that are representing you and me. Representing you and me. Unbelievable. Here's Rashida Tlaib. By the way, Laura Loomer. You can think what you want to, Laura. I'm going to play this, but I got to show you Nancy Pelosi today. Lindell TV cornered Nancy about the J6 stuff, and Nancy didn't take it too kindly. Nancy's not going to go into retirement quietly. Her and Hillary are on the Nancy Hill tour. And it didn't start off on a good note. Here's Lindell TV today with Mrs. N.
Hi, Congresswoman Pelosi. Last time I asked you about January 6th, why you turned the National Guard away on January 6th, you told me to shut up and that I was repeating Republican talking points.
Shut up again because you're speaking lies. And I don't have
right
anything
here.
to do
You're
with
right
it.
here on record saying,
no,
I'll
shut up.
admit it.
No, I did not admit it. The president never would agree to send the National Guard. Don't waste your time or mine on you.
Why was your daughter filming you on January 6th?
Why don't you get away?
These are just questions the American people want answers to.
No, you know what? I don't even think you're a real journalist. You work for Mike the Pillow Man.
Actually, I do, and we're very proud.
I don't consider that journalism. Mike the Pillow Man, that's not journalism. I don't have any reason to talk to you.
He'd love to give you a free
I want
pillow.
you to record this. I want people to know that you're not a real journalist. You work
Yes,
for
she
Mike
is.
the Pillow Man.
Yes,
and
she is,
all you
Nance.
do is spout untruths.
Okay.
Get away from
You
me.
can insult me all you
Get
want, but
away from me.
Thank you, guys.
thank you, Congresswoman. We'll give you my pillow so you can have a nice sleep tonight, okay? Take care.
Good girl. Well said. Did you hear what she said? I'm going to give you a pillow so you can get some sleep, Nance. No, it's folks, this is the nut jobs. These are the nut jobs that are running the halls of Congress. Thanks to people that don't vote and people that vote for them. Thanks to those that, thank God she won't be with us either in January. She's going back in the pasture. This is our dear friend Laura Loomer. This was back in 2018. Laura Loomer, think what you want to Laura Loomer. I like Laura Loomer. I've met Laura. She's been on her show one time, way back, briefly, before she got famous, of course. But I've met her, and she's got just a unique way of talking and letting it all hang out sometimes. This is her back in 2019, and she was one of the few that saw through Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and confronted them about their pro-Islamic, anti-American dialogue and ideology. I want to show you this one 2018, she warned the country. Nobody listened to her. Roll the tape.
I was wondering, congratulations on your primary. Since you're going to be the first Palestinian Muslim,
I'm so sorry.
Are you willing to?
Oh, I can tell. Oh. I actually like people
Are you
like
her?
Yes.
Rashida, are you willing to admit as a congresswoman that Hamas is a terrorist organization? I really need to know that if this woman is going to be elected to Congress, that it's a serious question.
I heard about her. No, I heard she like stalks and stuff. Incredible opportunity for us to be able to come together as one community.
What about your
really
Jewish
change the
constituents?
world. I'm now going to be a member of Congress, inshallah. So most important thing is that we fight back. I love coming from a place of love.
Then why are you campaigning with Linda Sarsour, who called for jihad against President?
She was campaigning with Linda Sarsour, a Palestinian activist who is a radical left jihadist in herself. Laura Loomer confronted her, and she was telling the people back in 2019 this nutcase is going to be in Congress. Nobody listened to her. And this is what Rashida Tlaib said. I don't know when the date of this video. I think this was last year. I don't think we've ever played this video before. This is in Rashida Tlaib's own words, what she feels about America. Did you hear that little part at the end where she said, we got to fight back? You know who the we is? The we are the people that hate America and want to see Sharia law on the streets of this country. Roll tape.
This room's motherfuckers. We ain't going anywhere.
Excuse the language. I forgot that she said that word. See, I can't even play a tape from... That's a sitting senator. That's a sitting representative, by the way. Excuse me for that. Let me just try that.
The work in that we all are surrounded by was built on slavery and genocide and rape and oppression. Real change doesn't come from the cowards and warmongers in Congress. It comes from the streets. It comes from all of us mobilizing and seizing the power to resist and fight back. Gaza is the compass in this country. Now we're in Congress, and we're every corner of the United States.
I apologize for the profanity there at the beginning. That was at a People's Constitutional People's Constituency for Palestine. She was basically using every anti-Semitic slur against Israel, the United States, blaming Israel for everything. And you heard her right there, genocide, Gaza's the compass, and accusing America of genocide, Israel of rape, blood libel. Excuse the language, so please don't hold our show accountable for that. Didn't mean to let that slip. I should be more careful about those videos. I apologize for that. But that's a sitting member of the House, folks. That's a sitting member of the House. That is a sitting member of the House. Not good. Not good at all. Let's see, a couple of other things here. By the way, this is disgraceful. One more thing, and then I'm going to say we're at 1:45.
New law will make it illegal to call them mother and father. Nate Foy has the details on this. Nate?
Hey, Jackie. So, yeah, New York Democrats argue the words mother and father are outdated and need to be replaced with more inclusive terms under state law. All that's needed now is Governor Kathy Hochul's signature. So if Hochul approves, in New York's family court and in domestic and education law, a mother would be labeled as a gestating parent, a father as a non-gestating parent, and paternity proceedings to determine the child's father would be called parentage proceedings. The bill passed the state Senate this week and the state assembly back in March. Governor Hochul proudly calls herself New York's first mom governor. It's unclear if she'll support this change, though.
I'm not familiar with what was introduced late last night, so I'll take a look at it. I have until the end of the year to review them and make a decision, so I won't be commenting on pending legislation.
Isn't that mighty whatever? Mighty liberal of you, Kath. Insanity. Nothing but insanity. Nothing but insanity. All right, we got 15 minutes. 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Roll with your questions. Roll with your questions. Good to see Cleo in the house tonight, as always. And she made a good point up here. I want to go back up here. Some of the questions earlier. Friends tend to be themselves with each other, and trust moments are private. And I think that's what happened. Why Trump doesn't unleash on the mullahs, he knows they're not his friends. Good point. Very good point there. And she also made another good point. Japan spends more money on the U.S. Congress than AIPAC. Saudis, China spend much more. The AIPAC argument is lazy, and it's pure misinformation. I totally agree. Totally agree. If you got anything to say, you got any questions, now is your time to talk. Now is your time to talk. Bear, it is embarrassing, all of them. Isn't it sad? It is an embarrassment, folks. Look, this is the state of affairs in that Congress. And my question has always been, not why they're there. Who are the people electing them to get there? I mean, I know they're crazy, but have we gone that crazy in this country? I mean, have we gone that crazy? Because they're just a mirror of their constituents. I mean, there is such a spirit of I don't even know what you call it at this point. I don't even know what you call that, what you just seen. And there is a spiritual element to this. Look, it is a demonic fog. It is a demonic presence. And just listening to them talk, it reminded me of Obama. During the time of Obama, I could not listen to that man talk. I can't listen to Joe Biden talk and Jill Biden. I can't. I have to turn the television off when Hillary Clinton comes on. There is just something. There is a demonic presence with their speech that I cannot listen to it. And they are liars. They are slanderers. These Dems, when they speak, I just want to go get in the bathtub with my clothes on and take a bath with my clothes on. That's how dirty it feels. And I asked myself the question, Lord, have we gotten this? Is this us? Is this our nation? And I hope the answer to that is no. That there are still enough people, a majority of people in this country that don't see the country like these people do. But I'm beginning to wonder, Bear. I'm beginning to wonder. I'm beginning to wonder, buddy. It is demonic. No, it is demonic. Stephen, the question is, can they put people in jail for leaking Trump's phone calls? Well, problem is you got to find out who did it. I don't know if you can put them in jail. It depends on if Trump would get angry enough to do it. You probably could. I think they tried that the first time around. There was some calls that he made to the Australian Prime Minister in his first term, and the leakers got charged with that. So I would certainly believe they could. But look, I'm going to just say this about the phone call. The phone call wasn't the issue. I think that I tend to lean to what Cleo is saying, and friends just, Bibi is good as gave him grace. I mean, when Bibi had a chance to hit back, he didn't. He said, look, we have these conversations like this all the time. And he said, at the end of the day, we're committed to one cause, and that is to make sure Iran don't get a nuclear weapon. I have to tip my hat to Bibi Netanyahu, because he was much more gracious than McDonald may have been. I'm just telling you, I may not have been as gracious. Anyway, I'll leave that alone for right now. All righty. Craziness abounds in Congress, Grant. I'll agree with that, buddy. I will agree with that. Totally agree with that. And anything else? Let me go over here. Roger, I wouldn't take an issue with your comment a while ago, buddy. I was just making a point that there's reasons why I am worked up about Trump. I get your point, and maybe we all are a little wired up about it. I feel like we're wired up about it for good reason. I wasn't taking issue with you personally. It's always good to see you, and I appreciate you. I mean, your insight's fine, and your opinion's fine. It's fine, and I get what you're saying. What I was trying to get across is that the reason we need to be upset about it is that we don't have any other allies over there. And, if you ain't got but one friend, out of 20 that want to kill you and hate you or trying to destroy you, I wouldn't be treating my friend bad. I mean, I would be clinging to my friend and telling him, I got your back and you have ours and whatever. And I know the phone call got leaked, and it may not have been a big deal if the phone call wouldn't have got leaked. Maybe that is the bigger issue is why that was. But anyway, we didn't even get a chance to talk about Scott Pelley getting fired from 60 Minutes. What a jerk and a loser. And John Thune does not need to be let off the hook. The Save America Act tonight, folks, went down. It wasn't because of Thune. It wasn't because of McConnell, Murkowski, Collins, and Tillis as much as it was John Thune. He attached it to a reconciliation bill, and that gave them the cover to vote against it. And there's no telling what backroom deals were made to get those 4 rhinos to vote. But it's okay. It's okay. Justice is coming. Justice is coming. Justice is coming. All righty, we're almost done tonight. Any other questions real quick? Ellen, good to see you tonight. Yes, Congress, I'm glad you brought that up, Carol. The House tonight, thanks to 5 or 6 rhino Republicans again, they voted. It's useless. Trump's going to veto it. The Senate, I doubt, passes it. I say that. I hope the Senate wouldn't pass it, but even if they do, it's never going to pass. It's never going to get a 2/3 majority to override it. I don't think. Nothing surprises me. But the House Representatives, voted to limit his war powers in Iran. They did. And I'm glad you brought that up tonight. That's something else we need to talk about. That'll be our Monday discussion with somebody, I'm sure. And Cleo, you're right. Under the federal law, leaking classified defense information can result in up to 10 years that if it's found and prosecuted. And I would say that situation that happened was a national security discussion, and I think that it would fall under that purview, and they need to get whoever did it. Axios is a garbage publication to begin with, and that's one of the reasons why I think it was Monday night when all this came out, or Tuesday, and I came on here and I told everybody, I said it's likely that this was put out there fraudulently by Axios, and I don't think Leo's going to mind me telling you this. I got up the next morning. We're 12 hours apart. And I got up the next morning, and she had sent me something. And I think she had sent me the video where Trump was saying this was all right. And she said, I think that you were right about it not being, because I was arguing that it was not. But I was sort of not sure whether it was true or not either, Tia. But we both, Cleo and I, we were sort of shocked that Trump admitted that he actually said it. Because I was getting ready to lay the bomb down on Axios, and Axios is evidently what they were reporting was true, because Trump said it was true. And I don't know if it was word for word, verbatim, but that's why, the media is complicit in all this stuff. And I'm going to say this, folks, about the situation in California. The media is not going to give Spencer Pratt any favors, and they're not going to give Steve Hilton any favors. And you might as well just get ready for this. And they're not going to raise a stink about these ballots. There should be an investigative journalist on the ground right now. If you've got 25,000 ballots and not one single vote was cast for Spencer Pratt, that is a scandal. Already, that is a scandal. And nobody is wanting to report on it except the right-wing media on X and the people that are conservative on X. Some people I've heard mention it. CNN is, I think, beginning to come around to the fact that there are some shenanigans in California, but don't count on them to be a defender of Steve Hilton or Spencer Pratt. I want to tell both Hilton and Pratt this. I am very, very, very proud and very want to give you both a compliment for running and enduring like you have. To get to this point even has been an accomplishment. And California, I love you all, but y'all were given this choice. And if you choose Karen Bass in LA to run your city again for 4 years, whatever happens to you, don't come complaining to the rest of the country. Don't come complaining on your ex accounts how bad it is in LA. You chose that mayor. Same thing with the state. You got a chance to change course. You got a chance to change course. And I know it's a blue state, but there's enough Christians, neighbor. And I'll say this to them. I go to my grave. We're going to have Rachel Hamm next week. I talked to Rachel tonight. She's California, and they did this to her. Rachel ran for Attorney General back in 2020 and couldn't get the Republicans to help her. She was actually, at one point, she showed me a poll that she was actually leading for about a week or two, that her name had basically gotten recognition and she was ahead. But she begged and begged and begged and begged the Republicans to help her. They wouldn't do it. And I don't know if she dropped out or not. I can't remember. But I know she got beat pretty sound. One or the other, I can't remember. But I wanted her to talk about this cheating because she's very aware of it. And Lori Mills is coming back. Her and Rachel know each other, actually. And Lori Mills has been busy, but we're going to get them on maybe next week. We got Andy Berger coming Monday night. Andy is into child trafficking and fighting it. Not into it, but fighting it. And she's Eric Caron's friend, and she did a great job last time she was with us, and we're going to have her on the show next week. James Akers will be back with us, and we're trying to get Judge Cheryl Allen back. And we're going to have some other guests as well. And Magdalene Rose will be back with us next week. She couldn't be with us this week. Now, tomorrow night, I'm going to be traveling. I may or may not be with you tomorrow night. That's why I figured to come on twice tonight, have a late show. And I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. And we sure hope that you've enjoyed Miss Jordan Brace, our young lady that we had this evening at 8 or 9. Such a good interview. And when I say California, I want to make it clear, I'm not addressing everybody that votes. I know there are a lot of good, solid people in California. I want the Californians to know we love you guys. We got a lot of listeners out there. We got a lot of great listeners out there. We got a lot of godly people out in California. Ricky Wilson, John Quallen, and the list could go on. I got a cousin that lives in San Diego, and they're very conservative, and they are reeling under the weight of this liberal government. And it's not everybody. When I say these things, I'm not scolding the godly that are trying, because there are many people that are godly. I talked to Amy Miller tonight. I think she told me just 1/4 of the electorate showed up for the polls Tuesday night. And I think it's Sioux Falls. The state, I think it's the state, she told me. I'll have to read that text again. They're on the brink of electing a liberal governor because there was no turnout. And her mayor's race is about to go blue because there was no turnout. And folks, that's on us. That's on us. And I know there are many of you that, and I hear it all the time, well, I didn't vote for Newsom, or I didn't vote for this, or I didn't vote for that. And I'm not saying you did. And we're not scolding you. But there's a lot of Christians out there that do not vote. They just don't vote. And I guess that's why I'm so appreciative of those that do. But what I'm saying when I say things like that, I'm speaking to those that don't take any action in their government, in their lives, and they don't take any kind of investment and any kind of concern for the government that's over them and the people that run them and the people that are going to rule over them. It's what happened in New Jersey. And this guy's likely going to win. I mean, from what I understand, the Republican that he's running against is so weak it ain't funny. He almost should be a Democrat. So this crazy lunatic that backed the 9/11 bombers of the World Trade Center and the 9/11 hijackers, I should say, 1993 World Trade Center, 2001, because the blind sheik was behind the 9/11 attack too. He was testifying for him. He's about to be a representative of the state of New Jersey. How does that happen? How does that happen? How does Zohar Mandami get elected in New York? How does the crazy nut job governor of New Jersey get elected? How does the crazy nut job Virginia governor get elected? How does Gavin Newsom stay in power? How does people like Nancy Pelosi stay in Congress for 50 years, 40 years, 30 years? Chuck Schumer, all these nut jobs that are been hanging on for decades. Why does that happen? It just keeps happening. At some point, we all got to take a look in the mirror. At some point, we can't keep blaming the corrupt politicians, folks. We got to look at us. We got to look at us. And very few want to do that. They want to blame it on everything else. And look, folks, we've had this conversation before. I'm not one to just automatically, when something goes bad in an election, say that there's cheating. I've been around politics enough to know if there's certain margins that happen, sometimes it ain't cheating. Sometimes it's voter turnout. If it's narrow and there was a wide margin and all of a sudden overnight that wide margin is taken over and you win by a few hundred votes or 1,000 votes, I'm more open to listen to the cheating accusation. But it is blatant what's going on in California tonight, what they're doing. It is as blatant as can be. But it's like Lori Mills told me. If people don't get out and vote, it's not going to be big enough to rig it. In other words, you've got to vote to the point it's too big to rig. It's how Glenn Youngkin got elected in Virginia before Spoonenbarger. There was so many votes. Magdalene told me this. Her and her family lived in Virginia when Glenn Youngkin got elected governor. She said, Chris, she said, there was so many votes. There was no way the Democrats could bring that many blank ballots into the voting booths. 24 was that way with Trump. It was too many votes. They couldn't cheat. But they're trying it again. And I'm going to tell you this. It's a dress rehearsal. It's a dress run for November. It's a dress run for November. And probably for 28. And if I'm President Trump tonight, I know he probably don't need to do it. But at this point, with it being his final term, I wouldn't care if he did do it. But the National Guard needs to be sent to California to ensure the integrity of that election on both the mayor and the governor's side. And that's my opinion on that tonight. That is my opinion on that tonight. Don't vote, don't complain, Carol. That's exactly right. Grant, the Save America Act is not necessarily dead. It's not necessarily dead, but they're going to have to bring it back to the floor, and I don't know if the same floor will vote against it. 50 to 48, that means 2 senators didn't vote. Vance would be the tie-breaking vote, but the thing about it is that if the 4 rhinos vote again against it, what do you do? And it's just despicable. It's disgusting. It's disgusting that the Republicans allowed this to happen, that we can't get voter ID and a voting that you have to show proof of your being an American citizen in this country to vote. It's just it's unfathomable to think that we've reached this point. Anyway. Mary, good to see you tonight. She says Nick Shirley needs to investigate on the California election. Oh, that's right. Newsom was trying to block his going into the state. Yes, and also the bill, Mary, that he passed or he signed into law was that nobody can go investigate the poll workers or investigate the vote counters. So he's blocked everything. I mean, you can't go within a certain 100 feet of the poll watchers when they are voting. And he claims that he's protecting democracy doing that. No, they're protecting cheating. And I think we all know that tonight. Okay. Well, listen, we're grateful that you've been with us tonight. And if you've enjoyed the show, put some fire in that house. It's past 1 o'clock. It's my bedtime. And it is a no-brainer. It should be a no-brainer. But when you're dealing with politicians, you're dealing with people that have no brains. So, anyway, if we are on tomorrow night, it will be late I've been going pretty hard this week, so we may take tomorrow night off. We have 2 shows tonight. We go into the morning. But we will be with you in the morning early on the Faith side, the Spirit Word Fire Network, for our Bible study. We always have a morning Bible study. We invite you to be with it if you'd like to come be with us for that. And so that may be our only show tomorrow. But we will be back in full force next week. And we'll, of course, be with you Sunday morning, Sunday night. And we'll be at Grand Ridge, Florida, 2011 Finley Avenue. That's in the Panhandle, about probably 45 minutes west of Tallahassee. And if you're in the North Florida area, if you're in the South Florida area, if you're in the South Georgia area, South Alabama area, or if you've just got a adventurous bone and you want to come to the beach and see the coast, drop by Grand Ridge Sunday morning. We'd love to have you to be with us in service, 11 o'clock Central. And we'd love to have you. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. God help us. That's all I got to say. God help us. My voice is out. It's probably good it is. And I got to go. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed out there. Put some fire in that house if you enjoyed the show. And I will see you back here. If not tomorrow night, we'll see you definitely in the morning on the Faith Show. We'll be back here Monday. And celebrate America, neighbor. Pray for your country.